You see them all over the place, banners hanging from buildings, wraps on cars. How do they do that and how they get that art on that window? We're fortunate to have a business that started here in Riverside by a local resident, Monster Media, who's going to show us exactly how it's all done right here on this edition of Made in Riverside. And here to give us a tour of day of Monster Media is the owner, Derek. Derek,
how's it going, Greg?
Hey.
How are you? Good.
Well, thanks for taking some time out with us today. So give us a background and a little history of Monster Media.
Well, Monster Media is about a 15-year-old company that I started out of my house here in Riverside. We do everything, from grand format to large format printing, from vehicle wraps to banners, point of purchase displays. Anything that would be to advertise your business.
Well, let's go take a tour of the space. So
we'll start with the print room.
All right.
All right.
So this is where the magic happens.
This is our print room. These are HP latex roll-to-roll machines. These basically print any roll-to-roll substrate, from like banners to papers to fabrics, anything that like window displays you see in a mall when you go to like a Abercrombie and Fitch and they have like the stuff hanging. So it's all basically printed on the same type of machine. You just different you just put different substrates on to do those. These are also environmentally the most responsible printers on the market for this type of like printing, since they're not solvent based. A lot of people are still using solvent based printers. These machines are water based printers. And
explain the difference between a solvent-based and a water-based printer.
So ink has, there's carriers, how you carry the ink through a machine, and the carrier can either be solvent or it can be water or whatever the carrier is for, like, say, a UV cured machine that we do, like prints on wood.
I was reading somewhere that you start off with just one printer.
Yep.
In the garage, is that right?
Yeah, in a bedroom. Small bedroom, over off of Brockton, right across the street from Allen Paper Company.
And then what were you printing at the time? Just taking small orders, T-shirts? What were you doing?
No, I did. So I used to just telling you earlier, I used to be a professional snowboarder. When I stopped snowboarding, I went to work for a company called CBSI, and they actually owned the snowboard company that I actually rode for, and they also owned a skateboard shoe brand called Osiris Shoes. And as I was working for them, I ended up buying this printer because I did a sports marketing position for them. I handled like athletes. So I ended up just buying this printer and doing this little side business, and started, all my friends that eventually were retiring from snowboarding started going to work for brands, and I started selling them printing, and to Osiris actually sold them printing for trade shows, for their trade show business, and then eventually just quit working for them and kind of transitioned into doing my own thing,
Well, and speaking of brands, you've got some pretty big names that you print for.
Yep.
What are some of those brands?
We do work for Oakley, Volcom. It's the gamut is all over. I met with Boris Said from BMW of Marietta today. It's City of Riverside. I don't know. And we've done stuff for Nike.
Okay. Wow.
Everybody.
They come out of here. Where do they go?
Oh, from when we finish the banners?
Right.
So either they'll print to a roll if it's a huge job, or they'll just print to the floor and drop it, and then they carry everything outside to the finishing area, and that's where they'll fabricate all the roll-to-roll, either cut it down or hem, grommet, and do all the different things that we do for finishing the jobs.
Can we go take a look at the finishing roll?
Yeah.
All right.
So Greg, everything from the print room, when it's done being printed, it comes out here on the floor, gets laid out, cut, trimmed down, and then from there it goes onto the seamer, and then that's where we'll do any seaming or fabrication or hemming. Some banners we'll actually do some manual sewing depending on the fabrication, but 99% of all the fabrication gets done on a heat seamer. It's a lot stronger, faster, and just takes one person to do a big banner.
So the heat seamer is basically what brought this all to get sealed all this together, right?
It basically just folds the material over and has the perfect temperature and bonds the two pieces together, and it's way stronger than a conventional sewing machine.
Okay.
And then after that, then it goes over and gets grommeted and rolled up and put in the box and shipped out.
So let's just look at this project here from start to finish. Once you got the image, you're starting printing to getting shipped out. About how long does that take?
It's usually about a 2 to 3 day turnaround, depending. There's no artwork issues or how busy we are at the time. Roughly, just to do all the fabrication, takes a few hours just to do that part. Part of the time is setting up for pre-press, making sure the files are good. Then it goes over to print, and then they get it. They get it on the machine, get it printed, and then gets cut out and put out here. So yeah, it's about a 2-3 day process.
And I noticed when the guy was working on it, it really was a manual process. This is something that can't be automated. You got to have your guys doing this by hand, right?
Yeah, it really does, because each banner is a different size, so it's really hard to automate something that has so many variables.
Yeah.
Exactly, because one banner might have pull pockets, another one will have just trimmed, and then another one gets seamed, and then one gets grommets, one doesn't get grommets. So there's a lot of variables.
So one thing we talked about earlier is you guys do vehicle wraps.
Yep.
Talk about that and sort of the process for it.
Yeah, vehicle wraps is something we've done for years. We preferably like doing them for businesses and people who understand the value in advertising their business and really understand what the goal of a vehicle wrap is. The process is, it's pretty simple. You run through the printer, it gets printed on the same printer as we print the banners. Then it goes over and gets laminated, and they put a coating over it to protect it, and then that's the part that's very labor intensive, is the install. Basically, somebody has to sit there with a squeegee and a torch, and they basically hand wrap the whole vehicle. So one vehicle takes 2 guys about a full day's worth of work. So it's really time consuming.
And what's the adhesive? It's
just like a gigantic sticker,
okay.
Adhesive back vinyl. So yeah.
And then does it peel off over time, or?
Vehicle wraps do fade and you have some wear over time. If you take care of it and you keep it indoors and don't let it sit out at night times and get dew and let it get dirty and don't keep it washed or waxed.
Right.
But the ones that don't last as long would be commercial vehicles that are sitting out in the sun, sitting in yards and don't get washed on a regular basis. Those ones will last not as long.
Okay.
So this is the shipping department, pretty much, where we ship all the orders for Monster Media. So everything that ends up coming through here eventually comes through here and out the door. And
where are some places you ship to? You're global, right?
Yeah, for Prints on Wood, we ship worldwide. We ship Australia and UK and Japan, pretty much anywhere, I think.
And how do you market Monster Media? Do you have a sales team? Is it you do the trade shows, obviously, but what?
Yeah, Monster Media has really been word of mouth.
Okay.
We're actually going to put a little more efforts towards putting some marketing efforts in place this year.
Well, we appreciate you being in Riverside. You grew up in Riverside. You chose to keep your business here. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great meeting you, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. All right. That's all the time we have for this edition of Made in Riverside. I'd like to thank Derek Swinford and the entire Monster Media team for joining us on this episode of Made in Riverside. And remember, if it's not made anywhere else, it's made in Riverside. And that's a wrap.